Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I will be doing something different. So I was just laying in bed a few days ago and I just wanted to create something different and new than what I have kind of done before. And I have done frosting, I do frosting with my chocolate soaps, but I thought, I'm going to do something a little different with my frosting and the design compared to what I have done in the past. So the recipe is 60% extra virgin olive oil, 30% organic coconut oil, and 10% organic unrefined cocoa butter. So you won't really smell the chocolate when it's cured, because that 10%, it's when you go up above 20%, that's when you really, retain the chocolate smell. But I thought I'll try 10% cocoa butter on top of the 30% to bring it to 40% hard oils, just to see how it performs with solubility. And I'm trying to play around with recipes and improve my current recipes, just to, even though they last a good amount of time, I want to really increase the amount of washes customers get from their bars. So this will be a good test. This is like a specialty soap I'm doing. I'm just making a couple of batches and to see how it turns out. It could be a disaster, it could be great, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But I'm using those loaf molds, so I'm going to be using 2. And the main base is going to be ivory clay, so it's going to be a nice off-white colour. And I will, pour that mainly in the loaf molds, and then do a bit of pink swirl in the mold. And as well, this is green clay with a bit of white clay just to lighten it up. And that's the ivory clay. And just a small, green swirl as well. And then for the frosting on top, I'll use the ivory base. And I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I've seen these on eBay and I thought, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing. These are silicone piping bags, so they're reusable. These are reusable as well. I get these from Kmart. So I'm going to do the cake frosting, just the normal frosting. I don't know if you can see that. The cake frosting on top, like with my chocolate soaps. And then this one is like a kind of a leaf tip kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is a high top ivory, and then I'm going to do a leaf on the sides. So I don't know if it's going to turn out nice. It could end up looking totally different from what I have in my mind. I'm not too experienced with frosting, so this is going to be a learning curve for me. So you're going to see me learn as I go. So hopefully it turns out fine. And the fragrance, it's a blend of natural fragrance oils and essential oils. So I'm going to be calling it citrus berry rose. So it's got a little bit of rose cedar natural fragrance oil, lemon lime natural fragrance oil, a little bit of rose geranium essential oil, and of course I like to fix it, as you know, me with my blends or in my essential oils, I always like to fix it with 1% cedarwood atlas, and the natural vitamin E is in here as well. So that's what's going on in this blend fragrance jar. And of course for my water, what I did is, because it's really cold here, and I've actually gotten quite used to it now, I've been freezing my distilled water, so I did 60% ice and 40% just room temperature distilled water. Before I added the ice in, I dissolved the cane sugar, or the brown sugar, and the pink salt in there as well. And I've actually been adding my sodium lactate now to the distilled water, because the last couple of times when I added it in the oil, I don't know if it's a temperature thing, because it's been really cold here, but I found that it was a little slimy before I added the light water to it, and it hasn't affected finished product. The finished product's all great, but I just, in my back of my head, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just add it when the water's below 50 degrees Celsius. So at the moment it's sitting at 40 degrees Celsius, and this is at 31 degrees Celsius. So I'll just wait for a couple more degrees for the live water and I'll get started. So yeah, I've been adding the sodium lactate to my cool lime water now. So I've got my piping bags ready, my colours already weighed out, pink Australian clay, green Australian clay, a little bit of white Australian clay, and the ivory clay. This really does change colour compared to normal white clay. White clay is very neutral, but when you use ivory and beige clay, it actually changes the colour, which is really nice, to a nice off-white. So hopefully the colour combinations all blend very well together, and the finished product is what's in my mind. I'm not sure. We'll see. I can smell just a little bit of chocolate, but I'm not aiming for a chocolate smell. I'm just aiming for a 10% cocoa butter to help with hardness and solubility. And another thing I want to point out too is hardness and solubility are two separate categories. So just because a bar is really hard, it does not mean it's going to last in the shower, and it does not mean that you're going to get longevity in your bar. So this is something that me and Ellie have been actually discussing in detail in the last few weeks about hardness versus solubility. And I found that even with 100% coconut oil soaps, at 20% super fat, I find that they still kind of melt away a little bit in the shower. So that's why I've been kind of adding 20%, I've been adding 2% sodium lactate to my recent batches. Before, I wasn't really adding sodium lactate to my pure coconut oil soaps, but I've been adding it lately to see if it's made a difference. And it has made a slight difference, but I still find that it kind of is more soluble when it comes into water, so it does melt away, and especially if you don't keep it dry. So you have to keep it dry between uses and keep it away from the splash from your shower head. Put it on a nice soap holder that has, plenty of ventilation and airflow to keep the bar as hard as possible and as dry as possible between uses. So I found doing that as well with the pure coconut oil soaps does extend the longevity of it. But hard oils, so coconut oil is soluble. It's very soluble in water. Even though it's really rock hard when you knock on it, it's like knocking on a wood door. But I find that cocoa butter significantly reduces the solubility of your finished product, especially after cure. So I'm trying, this is a really good test recipe. I want to see, I know my chocolate soaps really last in the shower with the 20% cocoa butter. So I know that the 10% will make a difference. I just want to see how much of a difference between, 70% olive oil and a 30% coconut oil compared to a 60% olive oil, 30% coconut oil and 10% cocoa butter versus my chocolate soaps, which have, the 20 cocoa butter, 30 coconut oil, and the 50 olive oil. So it's a good in-between, and I want to do testing to see, the variations and how they perform. And if I find that the 10% cocoa butter is going to perform very well, what I'm going to do is actually incorporate the cocoa butter in all my recipes, including my cocoa olive recipes. I'm actually going to change it to, instead of a 70-30, I'm going to do a 60 olive, 30 coconut, and a 10 cocoa butter, because I like to give my customers as much value as possible, and I want them when they receive, when they purchase online or in retail stores their soap bars, I want it to last them a considerable amount of time, and I want them to get their bang for their buck. So that's the kind of the thought process behind that. So yes, I think I'm ready to start. Now, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. So yes, I think we're ready. So I'm just going to put my safety goggles on, some gloves, and incorporate this. I'm going to be using a whisk as well, because cocoa butter does accelerate trace. And of course, I'm using a heavy water discount, and salt and sodium lactate and sugar, all these things accelerate trace. So I've gotten very used to using a whisk for, as you've seen in my videos and all my videos, especially for recipes that tend to trace fast. And also, I'm not too sure about this. This fragrance blend, because I haven't worked with that combination before. So I'm hoping it doesn't seize up on me or anything. It should be fine. But the whisk in this situation is my best friend. Okay, so let's get soaping. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you at the end. Right, so I've cut these. They turned out actually better than I anticipated. I had an issue. I don't know if you picked it up in the video before. I'm not sure why it happened. I've never actually had it happen on me before. One of the piping bag for the beige, I'll show you, the beige colour here. So it's a bit yellow now, but it'll lighten as it cures. The piping bag got stuck. It got clogged. And I'm not sure why I did that. It's never done that before. And the batter wasn't overly thick, so I wasn't understanding why it got clogged. But anyway, I had to work on my toes. And what I really wanted to do was have the beige, all the way up and just on the sides, on each side. I wanted to do a leaf tip, on each side. So that was what I had, in my mind. And it would have turned out actually fine if I didn't have the clogging happen on the beige. So that's why you see me kind of put the beige piping bag down, and I switched to the green piping bag, and I thought, oh no, I had to kind of put, the green, leaf tips around and stuff. So they didn't turn out, look, some bars did, hang on, so you can see like it's a nice leaf on some bars, but I had to work really quick, and by the end the batter was getting quite firm, so I had to be quick with the green as well. So yeah, that was the experience with these bars. I'm really liking the fragrance. How it turned out to really nice. You can definitely smell the rose geranium, you can smell those berry notes as well, and you can definitely smell the citrus, the lemon and the lime. And I think the combination turned out really well, and even the color combination as well turned out well. So I'm definitely going to be making these again in future. I really like the way they turned out, and also I'm really liking, it's been about 4 hours since I poured. I'm really liking, and I'm used to, obviously making cocoa olive combination, but I'm really liking the hardness. It is actually considerably harder compared to just a 70% olive and 30% coconut. So yeah, they turned out really good. And because obviously I was rushing and I had issues with the bags, so there are a little bit of holes, in the top. But I think it still turned out nice. I'm still going to probably put these for sale on the website when they finish curing as well. They definitely serve its purpose. And because I do a 25% water to oil ratio, it's really easy to work out what my finished product is going to weigh. So I'll take a bar and I'll weigh it. So that's 173. So what you do is you deduct 10% of 173. Let's weigh this one. That's 171. If I was going to pipe all the way, like this one's a full piping. Alright, so let's weigh, that should weigh more than 171, yeah, so 176. If I was able to pipe all the way to the top and do the design I wanted to do, these would be probably 180, 185 grams, but that's alright, no problems. So I would probably put these, I would say like maybe 160 grams, estimated. So to take 10%, 10, yeah, maybe 150. I'll probably just put 150, just to be on the safe side. Because I don't like to be deceiving. I like to be as close as possible with the weight of my bars. Let's weigh that one. That's 160 because that was the end piece. And so that will definitely be around the 150 mark. And I think that's an end piece as well. Oh no, okay, that's an end piece, but that's 167, so that's close to the 170 mark, so that's okay. So when these will finish shrinking in about 14 days, right? They won't shrink anymore, and I've tested my recipes in the past where I have actually weighed them after 4 weeks, after the 2-week mark, so that gap, and they didn't go down in weight anymore. And that's because of the heavy water discounting I do as well. And in my soap curing room, I actually have a dehumidifier, and that really, really helps soak up the excess moisture in the room. and the bars go really hard after a short amount of time. So if you can introduce a dehumidifier in your soap curing area, it's something very beneficial, and it was very inexpensive. I think I got it's about that big, about 40 centimeters. So I put on one of my shelves next to where my soaps cure, and that was, I think I got it for $80 on eBay. And I have to empty the water tank every 3 or 4 days, and the water tank the capacity is 2 liters, so it soaks up 2 liters or 2 kilos worth of water in a few days. So it's really fantastic. In summer, I have to empty it every 2.5 days, and obviously it's winter now, so about 4 days I have to empty it. But yeah, since I did notice a difference when putting a dehumidifier in the room, how hard these go in a short amount of time. So I'm really happy with how these turned out. I'm really, really liking it. I'm not sure why the piping bag misbehaved. I really don't know why it did that. If anyone has any ideas, I definitely know it's not the batter, because the batter wasn't hard or thick to squeeze out. So I'm not really understanding. So if anyone has had a similar experience and they found out why it happened to them, I would love to know what the reason is behind that. But yeah, all in all, I am very happy with how these turned out. And yeah, it's just great, really, really great. Can't wait to do some more designs and different fragrance blends as well. So I'm really looking forward to changing things up in some ranges, like creating some ranges where I change the design constantly and stuff, because I like to have my staple bars, like as the bars you've seen me make so far on my videos. Those are my staples I make continuously over and supply to retail stores as well. But I want to have a couple of ranges where, like this for example, I can change the smell and the fragrance and the colouring and all that sort of stuff. And this is a good example to bring it up. So those loaf molds I use, when I want to cut them at 1 inch and I want to get 10 bars out of it, even though this is still to weight when I put 150 grams, but let's say we get a full cut one, we'll put them side by side so you can see it's probably easier. So when you do see how this one's a little thinner than that one. That's why I'm kind of moving away from those loaf molds, because I always seem to, well, at least the ones I bought them on eBay and AliExpress as well, and they're the same with the length. They're 26.4 centimeters, I believe, or 26.8, one of the two. I feel like it just falls a tiny bit short of what I should theoretically be able to get 1 inch bars, 10 of them, with 2 decent size offcuts. So that's kind of why I moved away from these loaves and I'm working with slabs. But now that Vinny, you've seen my soap cutters and my slabs and all that I've gotten from Vinny on Etsy. He's in Adelaide. He now makes liners and he's doing those loaves as well, bigger loaves, 42 centimeters. So I'm actually going to purchase a couple of those in the future, because I still like working with loaves, but that size loaf, those sizes that you see me work with today, it's just the distribution of it is not the best, but for a beginner it's fine. If you're a beginner and you're starting out, by all means use those molds. But yeah, I find that they do have that issue with the end bits just being a tiny bit smaller than what they should be if you're cutting them at 1 inch. And even when I cut them at 12 bars, 110 gram average, I would still always end up with one at the end that was a little bit smaller and below 100 grams when it finished curing, and you could tell that it was smaller. So I used to just give those as samples. So that's why I'm kind of moving away from these loaves. So I just thought I'll, throw that out there just for people that are wondering what molds to use and stuff. But definitely custom made loaves with liners and slabs with liners, they're the best. And that you'd want to go with because they take into consideration the distribution and a really good mould maker like Vinny. He understands that this distribution is very important. And particularly at 1 inch, 1 inch is a really good standard size to cut your bars, 1 inch or 2.54 centimeters. And so the length is really, really important, more than the depth and the height, the length, because the length is what determines how many bars you are going to get out of your loaf, and it determines how much wastage you have. So you want to be able to consistently get the same amount of bars per batch that you do, and you don't want any hiccups in between. So that's from a business point of perspective. Obviously, if it's just a hobby and, for home and gifts and all that, it's not really a big deal. But for someone like me and other soap makers that do make a large quantity, it does make a difference. You want it to be consistent every time. And let's just say, for example, this was a, custom made order. Someone said, oh, hey, make me 2 batches. I want this, this, this. And I went ahead and did it. And let's say, these bars were below the 150 gram mark. Then I would have to make a third one just to replace that 1 bar that's, not cut to size properly because of the distribution in the loaf mold. So this is where you kind of have to really know your equipment and what works and what doesn't. So I thought I'll just throw that bit of information in here because I find that it's quite important.